everybody. Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, whatever time of the day it is for you. And welcome to the Wealthy LaLa Show with myself, Laurie Laursen. And if you're new to my show, I want to thank you so much for listening. If you're wondering what the Wealthy LaLa is my grandma name. It took about 1.5 years after me becoming a grandma to have that great discovery of being a LaLa. And what's really fun is my first and last names both start with LaLa. And I'm sure I had seen it before in my search, but actually never really seen it until all of a sudden one day I was just sitting there and I was writing my name and I went, Laurie Laursen, and I went, LaLa. Oh my God. And it was just like, it was like the angels came out and sang. That's what it felt like in my world, like this whole expansiveness. Doo-doo-doo-doo. So it was pretty exciting. And when my grandson Parker, who's almost 2.5, says, hi, LaLa, or thank you, LaLa, or please, LaLa, oh my God, my heart just melts. So, today I wanted to talk, it is Thursday, and I'm finding it so much easier to step into the gratitude for Thankful Thursdays. And being a LaLa is just something I'm so incredibly grateful for. And discovering the name LaLa is something I'm so incredibly grateful for. And, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today was I've touched on it before, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit more, was this whole idea of this light and heavy, and that what is true for us. What is true for us makes us feel lighter. What is heavy for us, or whatever is not true for us, makes us feel heavy. And that can be different for each of us. So if you just even think about it with the whole name of LaLa, like you could be a female and you could have grandkids, and for you being a nanny or being a nana or being a grandma or being a mima or being a whatever may be exactly what lights up yourself and your being. And the thought of being a LaLa would be like, I don't think so. That just doesn't resonate with me. It's not congruent with who you be. And being a LaLa is certainly congruent with me. And so that's actually a really great example of playing with and using this whole light and heavy tool, this whole knowing what is true for you. And I'm really excited because in a couple weeks, I'm actually going to be doing a speaking engagement for about 2 hours on this light and heavy tool, knowing what you know, trusting yourself, and how this has been one of the biggest game changers for me. Because, as a recovered or recovering, I'd say mostly recovered people pleaser, I still get threads. I was really super aware of other people and what other people's needs are, and I still can be. And what I found was when I started to take different classes, different modalities, what I didn't know was how to know what was true for me. And because you would find someone would be a grandma and someone would be something else and someone would be a nana, like, well, there's all these choices. How do I know what's true for me? Because being a grandma, I was so aware, was working for some people. And for other people, my mom is a baba, and that works for her. And then I've got my husband's mom, which is a grandma. And then I've got other friends that are nanas and nonas and, and I could feel the resonance in their world. But what I didn't realize that resonance was actually the congruence of what was actually true for them. And so my question was, well, like, how do I know what's true for me? So when I found this light and heavy tool, it was really, it was a sense where I needed to really stop and say, hey, I'm going to allow myself to trust myself with this. Now, I'm not going to say it happened easily. It did not happen overnight. And it has happened, slowly but surely, as I played with it and I gained more confidence and I watched other people choose things that were light, that didn't necessarily make logical sense, or not choose things that were heavy. And I watched what got created. And then I watched when we would choose something, I would choose something, other people would choose something that was actually heavy, and see what that created. Um, I then began to, I guess I would first say, trust that this tool would actually work. And then I started to play with it more myself, and I invited myself more to let it, just to play with it, just to see what was true. And the more and more I used it, the more I got to see how it creates more in my world. Now, that's actually another whole aspect of this whole knowing what's true for you, is this isn't about things being right or wrong. So like me being a LaLa is not right. Someone else being a grandma is not wrong. Me not being a grandma is not wrong. And someone else being not being a grandma or LaLa is not wrong of them, if that makes sense. And so it's not about that. It's what actually creates greater for you. Now, this is where you got to tap into that, what can be seen as woo woo, but the whole energy part. Now, one of the things that I've really been doing a lot of is meditating lately. And I love right now, in this 10 seconds for me, what is super contributory to me in my life and my body is Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations, his information behind it, sort of the target of the meditations and how to use them, and then what they create in your life. And what I discovered, through his work and through other work and through quantum physics, is that we're all energy. Actually, if you actually break us down, or you break down my iPhone, which I'm recording the time on right now. Oh boy, there's that yawning thing again. If you break down the computer in front of me, or break down these oracle cards, or you break down the paper, if you go smaller and smaller and smaller with those microscopes that can actually see quantum particulates, everything is all energy. So it's just like when you go to walk into a room and a room feels comfortable to you, or it doesn't, or you walk into a room and you just know a couple that's in there was just arguing, or you're around someone and they just feel so good to be around them. And what is that? Like, have you ever slowed it down enough to actually ask the question, like, what is that? That's actually energy. It's energy that we're perceiving in someone else's world, in the world. Like, do you notice people will go outside and they're just like, you know, there's that sense of expansiveness. Well, what is that? Like, what makes a difference from you being in your house and walking outside? Like, really, what's the difference? It's the energy, it's the molecules, it's the trees, it's the sky, it's the grass, it's all of that. And it's certainly not making being in a house wrong, because you can invite in that energy too. It's just, being outside, or being in different rooms, or being in different houses, or being around different people. That which we're aware of is actually energy. So, you know how when you're going somewhere and you get the hit, hey, let's go down this road. And you go down that road and you find out you avoided an accident on another road. Or you go down this road. I remember this one time years ago. Gosh, it was years ago. Our daughter was still at home and living in Ukraine, or living at home, and was in Ukrainian dancing in a local town. And so we went there, and my hubby turned down a different road. It's not a big town, but we turned down a different road. And here was this little motorhome that we saw. Well, we ended up buying it. It was for sale. what made us go down that road? It was like something, was it the energy of the motorhome? Was it the energy of the universe going, go this way? Like, was it something in my husband's world without even being aware of that was like, go this way? So my point is that everything like this is all energy. And so the more and more that we tap into this field and the more and more that we tap into it and play with it, it allows a sense of possibility in our world that is just beyond what our logical mind can think of. So say it's a Friday night, okay? You've just had a really busy week. On a Friday night, your typical thing is to go home. You've had, it's Friday night, you've sort of bought that you've had a busy week. Friday nights are always your night to go home right after work, and then maybe just watch Netflix and movies, then go to bed. And this one night, someone says, why don't you come with us to the bar? And you're like, it's really weird. It feels really light. But you maybe say, like, either way, you could allow yourself to choose it and see what that creates. Or you could allow yourself to not choose it and see what that creates. But what if you choose it and it was light and it was weird because it's out of your comfort zone, it's out of what you normally choose, and then you go and you meet the person that you start dating, or you've been looking for clients for your new business and you go out with some friends, and while you're dancing you meet this new person, and then you find out interesting things about each other, and then this person becomes a client, or this person has a business that you can now do your business there at their location. Like, there's just like, it's those things that allow us the randomness, but it's not even random. It's like orchestrated on a level beyond what we know to experience things beyond what we can figure out with our logical minds and beyond what we can just experience and create with what we know, with what we've already lived. And it can work in really interesting ways too, this light and heavy. I had a situation created the other day with a person who's really special to me in my life, and I was drawn to go to see them. And when I saw them, this really awkward, difficult situation got created. And so I left, and I kind of looked at it and I went, well, that was really weird. So anyways, I asked some questions around the whole thing, and I would have in the past looked at that as though I must have made a mistake. This must have been wrong. I must have misjudged. I shouldn't have gone to that place that day. I shouldn't have gone and visited with them. Because what would be called discomfort or something uncomfortable was created out of it. But what I know now with this light and heavy is sometimes something that's light is something that creates discomfort. But going back to that whole concept of something creating more is what it actually ends up creating. So it ended up creating a conversation that allowed me and this other person to create something greater than we had before. Now, the old me could have looked at that, would have looked at that and said, I shouldn't have gone. Why did I do that? It created discomfort in my world, in this other person's world. I must be bad. I must be wrong. I must not have been paying attention. I can't trust myself. And yet, when I know what I know about the light and heavy, I stopped and I looked at it and I went, geez, it was light to go there. Okay. It was light to leave after. Okay. Did it create discomfort? Absolutely. And then I allowed myself to play within the energies of all the different questions around it. And then when I got a chance to meet up with that person again, we got to have this conversation that allowed us to both have something different as a creation moving forward. Now, oh man, You know, I was really concerned how I was going to talk about this for 2 hours at this workshop coming up in a couple weeks. This was only 15 minutes, and I feel like I barely scratched the surface. So, anyways, I hope it still contributed to you because this is a big subject. And if you plan on listening in the future, I am definitely going to be diving into this more. So, how does it get any better than that? I'm so grateful for this light and heavy. And you know, maybe tomorrow I will talk a little bit more, maybe a little more in detail about what light and heavy is, how that's fun to play with, and how you can figure out what that is for you. I know that I talked about this on a previous show, but I just get that this is just, you know, for me, I started learning about it probably about 7, 8 years ago. And I am still just, I feel like scratching the surface of what's possible with this. So thank you so much for listening. Have an amazing day. And if you guys ever, if it, you feel like this is something you'd like to work with me one-on-one with, it would be so fun to play with you. You can reach out to me at thewealthylala@gmail.com or www.laurielarsen.com. Big hugs to you. You guys have an amazing rest of your day.